This is going to be a short, simple video on how I render pig fat to make lard. This is how I make lard dry rendered from pig fat. The first step is to obviously purchase your pig fat. Leaf fat is the best, but back fat will work just fine. I used pasture-raised leaf fat in the video that I'm doing today. The second thing is to dethaw it if it is frozen. I normally dethaw it a day or two in the refrigerator. Third step is to cut it into small bits, or if you have a meat grinder, you can use that and grind it up and make it into smaller pieces. The smaller the pieces are, the quicker it will render down. The next step is to put it into a clean, dry crock pot, turn it on low, put the lid on at an angle or like crack it open a little bit to let any moisture out. You do not want any moisture or water in the lard. Now there are some people that will wet render using water and salt mixed in with the fat, but then you have to make sure you remove all the water from the lard for it to be shelf stable. I just do dry rendering. From what I understand, dry rendering also keeps more of the nutritional benefits in it. That's why I do the dry rendering. And then I don't have to deal with the water or salt or anything like that. So I started it about 9 o'clock in the morning. I occasionally stirred it throughout the day. About 12 hours later, I strained it. I used a sieve and a cheesecloth, and I put it into a stainless steel bowl, or you could use a glass dish. Then you'll want to get rid of your cracklings, the leftover little bits, and clean your crock pot. You can either let the lard sit on the counter, or you can put it in the refrigerator for it to get hard. The next day, I put it back into the crock pot, but when I was scraping it out of the dish that it was in, I left the little bit of lard in the bottom of the bowl because that's like the dirty part. So I left that there, and then I threw it in the trash later. Do not dump it down the drain. So then, with all the cleaner lard I had in the crock pot, I turned the crock pot back on, put the lid on, leaving a little crack, and let it melt for a few hours. Once it's melted, I strained it again. This time I used a milk filter from our milking supplies, but you could probably use just a tighter weave cheesecloth or like a double cheesecloth, or maybe a coffee filter. So I put it right into jars, because that was the last time that I was going to render it down. You could melt it again and strain it again, depending on like how clean you want it. But doing it just the first initial time and then the second time, for this batch, it came out really clean. But also keep in mind, the more that you heat it up and cool it down, heat it up and cool it down, the more nutrition you are taking out of it. So it's up to you. But I did it the first initial time and then one other time. You can see the yucky stuff in the bottom of it. Yeah. And that's the gist of how to make lard. Very simple, very easy, takes some time, but it's not hard to do at all. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and I will try to answer them. See ya!